And here we are, live on the Metal Voice once again. Matt Barlow, Ashes of Aries, of course.
Everybody's
Former.
favorite law enforcement agent.
That's and well, maybe I don't know. We'll see.
um, Good news. The Dark Saga, here it is. Boom, boom, boom. You guys are going to play this album in its entirety in Europe, September, October. Is that correct, Matt?
Correct. Yep.
I know I've been asking you this for years. I go, years. I tell you, when are you going to play some Iced Earth songs? And you go, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, it was kind of a coaxing. You know, we've had people ask us about doing that. Obviously, it's just good timing, man. We're coming up on it's almost 30 years for that record, right?
Oh,
So it's gonna I think it's celebrate the 30th anniversary of it next year. So it's kind of crazy. Can't believe it. Long.
yeah, I know. Can you tell us how that record kind of changed or affected Ice Earth's career? You can talk about, maybe where you were at before and after that was released.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was a huge. I mean, but I can't talk about Ice Earth without talking about, for me, entering the band with Burn Offerings. That was huge for me. That was my first foray into actually being in a professional band. And it was, but along with that kind of came a dark side of it, because it was a really tough time for the band as well, which it kind of translated into the music, as everybody I think understands with John. When he writes, his heart goes out into the music, right? Like whatever he's focused on is that, just like for that record, he read Dante's Inferno, and then you get this giant humongous trilogy from that, because he puts everything he has into it. So that, obviously, that's the crown jewel of that record. But along with other things, that's definitely the crown jewel. But it still had a kind of a dark. It was just a dark time for the band in general, even though I was, I think I was the shining star at that point. But a tough time, right? So Dark Saga for me was, and I think for John as well, was just a renewal, a reinvigoration for the band. The reason that even John got turned on to Spawn was that we were celebrating Christmas, and I got all the guy, I like collecting action figures and stuff, and I had got all these like Batman and stuff, and John was a huge Batman fan, so I think I got John a Batman figure, and the other guys like Spawn figures, and he's like, "What the hell's this?" And then he started getting into it, started reading the comics, and it was, the rest is kind of history. And it just like that, man. It was like he was totally involved in the entire lore of it, and just thought it was just the coolest thing ever. And that's what happened with Dark Saga. So it was for me, it was really cool. For some members of the band, obviously, members changed and things like that at that point too. It's certainly not it wasn't like a a shock, with Iced Earth. The membership changes, from time to time. But for me, it was really a really good time. It was really a positive time for the band. And we did see, some amazing shit, man. I mean, we were able to do a lot more touring on that, got a lot more recognition. A lot of the songs obviously sounded a little more mainstream, I guess you'd say. The European fans just ate it up. It had all the great aspects, the sing-along stuff, all the really sweet hooky stuff. The choruses were just really super smooth and just well written. And of course, you've got John just chunking along. So it's just got all the cool shit that you would relate to Iced Earth. And I think that you listen to it and you go, yep, that's Iced Earth. And for me, it was also, I was able to kind of recognize who I am at the time. In between Burn Offerings and Dark Saga, I was starting to work with a vocal coach. I had a little bit of coaching before with my sister-in-law. She was a voice instructor and things like that. But this guy kind of got me and sort of understood and said, And he told me the coolest thing, and I tell this to every other vocalist that asks me about, how I develop my voice or whatever. I just say, do the best you can with what you've got. Like, figure out what your sweet spots are and focus on those. Now, you can broaden your voice. Obviously, you can broaden your range and all that, but really focus on those sweet spots in your voice and accentuate that and make that the star of what you're doing. So I really took that to heart. I really started, accentuating, like, obviously, the cool low parts. And then, of course, working with Jim Morris was just huge as well to really help me bring that kind of stuff out in the studio. And then, developing that and bringing that into, a live show and everything else. So it was just a really cool growing experience as well with that record. So yeah, I've got just tons of fond memories of things that represents for me.
It's interesting album because the Dark Saga is based on Spawn, and I believe is the origins of Spawn and afterwards, which, for those of you who don't know, it's a comic book, and it became a movie later on, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a Spawn freak and I didn't know about that sort of concept when I bought the album back in the day. But the nice thing, this is what I'm getting to, Matt. But the nice thing about this album is you can follow the story if you know the story, or if you don't, or you could just enjoy the album as a collection of songs that are really great. Because that's how I first got into the Dark Saga. I didn't know it was really a concept by a comic book. So you want to speak to that?
Yeah, because it's not like a story with a thread that's running through it. Now, if you, like you said, if you're a fan of the comic books, you'll go, okay, I get all this because it goes together. But like every song has a different thing. Obviously, the introduction, Dark Saga is an introduction to Spawn, right? And then you got Violate, that introduces you to the Violator character, or the Hunter, who is who is Angela, the Hunter, an angel, and so it introduces all those things because they're really cool characters and they're interesting in their own way. But it's not necessarily, it is a concept, but you're right. They're separate songs, kind of separate characters. But if you want to sit down and read the comics, you're going, okay, I get it. I understand this story, but it's not like a storyline, so to speak. Probably the biggest storyline would be the final trilogy at the end. Maybe that was more of a congruous kind of an idea, but it's just introducing more of the characters and kind of introducing you to the world of Spawn, I would say, more than
the perfect example is I Died for You. Like, people who don't know the backstory of that could still relate in another way.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Emotionally.
Yeah. It's the duality of the lyrics. Are you going to take it literally, or is this just completely metaphoric? Well, in the comic, it's literally, I died for you, kind of a thing. But we deal in metaphor all the time, right? So it's as songwriters, that's like what we do. It's fun, it's a cool to play on words and things like that, and take things that are maybe have literal meanings and really just kind of put them into a metaphor. So yeah, I mean it's just good. It's good writing. I think it's just it's amazing to me. I keep looking back at it. It's just amazing to me how quickly it came together. Obviously John took most of the bulk of the music and the lyrics. I was able to do some of the lyrical stuff, which was fun for me because I love that. I love, writing poem kind of a thing and then putting it to music. So I didn't even know at the time, like, where a lot of the stuff was going. I just started out with a basis. John was like, hey, I want to do the song about this. I want you to do the lyrics and we're going to go from there. And so I started pinning stuff and, so it's just very cool. Again, really cool time for the band. I think it was just I think it was a kind of a renaissance moment for the band in general with the Dark Saga. I think it opened up a lot more doors commercially, I guess, for the band, as well as being able to go into different markets and things like that. So yeah.
So we should all be thankful that you didn't give him a Pee Wee Herman figurine to the band members. You gave them Spawn the character. Right?
It'd be the Dark Adventures of Pee Wee Herman.
The Dark Adventures.
I mean, Pee Wee can be metal at times. You know, don't.
I'm not knocking Pee Wee.
The Smurfs are metal.
You're saying it might have been a bit different. The result might have been a little different. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was another cool thing that we did. So we had our little gimmick, and there are probably some people out there in Germany and to other parts of Europe. But you know, we actually packed up when we were doing a tour for the promotion. We actually bought like Spawn toys, and we were like hurling them out at the show. Cool, because we had some of the gigs that we were doing were only like 30-40 minute bits. So we were sharing the stage with other bands and things like that. So great for us because we could just go out there for 30-40 minutes, just pure ball of energy, just slaying it, and then just leave, mic drop, boom, and but we were hurling stuff out, figures and things like that out to the crowd, and then people would come up afterward and we could sign them and shit like that. It was
Here's a nice little tidbit. The artist who drew this is the same guy who the illustrator for Spider-Man, Todd McFarlane, correct?
Yep.
And John and yourself, I guess you guys were talking about at the time, perhaps you can do the soundtrack to Spawn. Is that correct?
We were working on something. I remember that what we were actually trying to do was see if they wanted to do something, because at the time, when Spawn came out, like the character, the figures, they actually had a comic book in the sleeve, because it was like and so the comic would, and it was great marketing, great. It was a cool look, but they had like their own, limited edition comics in with the characters in front. And we were thinking, like, wouldn't it be cool if we could do have the Dark Saga, like a single CD in with because really at that time the comics were doing good, but the toys were really doing well. And obviously, Harlan, he's built an empire. I mean, his toy business has blown away anything that he's done with the comics. I mean, that's just huge. I mean, now he's got DC, he's got so McFarlane, that company, the toy side of it, was just huge. And if we could have gotten in on that, I think there was the manager for McFarlane at the time didn't really like us. He didn't necessarily like the music. He wasn't like a metal guy. I think most of the soundtrack and stuff like that for the movie was probably stuff that he had something to deal with, and you can tell from that soundtrack it was not metal. It just was not. So I think that his manager wasn't, and I don't know, man. I mean, probably Todd's not into metal either. I don't know, but I just thought that we had so much going for us, and we had so much enthusiasm. It was really pretty hard to we went to McFarlane, we flew there to Phoenix.
Wow.
John and I did, and we went to we actually the reason that we got the meeting set up was we actually met Al Simmons, who was Todd's best friend, who went around and promoted at all the Comic Cons. We met up with him and talked with him and got this meeting set up. So Al has always been really cool to us. He actually contributed some lyrics to Depths of Hell on that record. So really cool guy, super nice guy. He helped us out a lot getting the meeting set up and all that. But I think at the end of the day, the manager, Todd's actual manager, did not necessarily dig what we were doing and wasn't really behind that, because he had other things on his mind, because they were trying to, I think at that point they were trying to really push the movie thing and get the Hollywood thing going. And I don't think that, dude, look at it, man. It was metal in the 90s. I mean, it wasn't, I get it.
Yeah.
And I understand it wasn't.
Actually, that was going to be my next question. Metal in the 90s.
Yeah. It's tough.
Me and Alan talk about this all the time. You guys were holding that metal flag in the 90s, and there were very few real metal bands.
Yeah, we were kind of a decade late, man. It kind of sucks, right?
Yeah.
I think for the true fans that were happy that fresh stuff was coming out in the 90s, they were happy. Us, Nevermore, we were kind of holding that down. And there's a lot of great European metal bands that were still holding the flag up as well. So I can't say anything. I can see a lot about that. That was great, and that's where obviously we flourished in Europe. So, but yeah, man, it's just a tough decade, man. Grunge was just toppled everybody over, and it was they went that it's just crazy. It's crazy how that works, because I heard from so many friends in the industry that were big bands on pretty much on top of things, and then when grunge came in, it's like all their shit was gone, like all their gold records and platinum records on the walls were just ripped down, and Nirvana and everything. I get you have to sometimes you have to clean out the closet, right? I understand that, but then you don't throw the baby the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak.
Yeah. No,
you keep good whatever's good, and what's keep it going. Thankfully, I guess the label that we were on at the time, Century Media, was still believed in what we were doing, and I think that they were making money. They had to have been making money. I don't know how much exactly, because I wasn't in on the business aspect of that. That wasn't my gig, but I'm sure they were making money, because they kept paying to have records done. And back then it wasn't cheap making records. It was pretty big business. But anyway,
that legacy of 30 years later, like you said, led you to this point, right? So
yep. Obviously I made some changes in my life and direction, but fortunately there are still people out there that give a shit and like what I do, so I'm happy. That makes me extremely happy. So
Matt, I'm just looking at the comments. Okay, you got guys from Germany, you guys got from Greece, right? Corfu,
Venezuela.
You guys got Venezuela, Brazil. This band, at least Iced Earth and your legacy with Iced Earth, it's a big band. Globally speaking, right? Maybe you didn't hit the charts, the top 200 in USA, but there's more to the world than USA, right?
Yeah, totally. And then yes, and I can't say enough about that. And I know that in certain parts of the world, we were getting bootlegged, and that's fine. That's how you. It happens, man. I get it. I think the first time we played in Mexico, went down there, man, it was crazy, the amount of like bootleg shirts and everything that were there. I was like, I was really, it's like, damn, John, look what you've done, man. Look what you created, because that was back when I went back with the band and was touring on Crucible. I was like, this is crazy, man. It must be big time, because there's like, tons and tons of bootlegs outside and all that. And obviously, that's not our home base. So we're not going to get out there and start telling people, hey, you can't sell that stuff. But we saw that, and it's cool. It is a little bit flattering. Obviously, if everybody got a little chunk of that, then it would be that much better. But I guess that's where you figure you've sort of made it, when people are bootlegging your shit and putting it out there. But yeah, it is a large world. Thankfully for heavy metal, it is a big world out there, and there's a lot of fans, a lot of metal fans throughout the world. Otherwise, if it was just all based on the US and kind of how wishy-washy it can be sometimes, or North America in general can be wishy-washy. I don't want to leave you guys out.
No, it gets wishy-washy here too. It gets wishy-washy.
You got to take it. So, where trends go and things like that. But that's the cool thing about the metal crowd.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I'm sorry.
And that's the cool thing about the metal crowd. They're solid, and what I find now is awesome as well, is that like me, I've got young men in my family, that I'm raising, and maybe they're not metalheads 100%. It's 50-50. I've got one who's a metalhead, but I do see that people who are metal fans back in the 80s, 90s, they're bringing their kids to the shows, and they're passing that on and sharing it, and it's part of who they are, and that's cool, man. It's special.
I want to ask you like a serious question, and I'll be very respectful for this, and you don't even have to answer if you don't want. John, with his troubles, and I'll keep it very, very general. John with his troubles, did you find it like difficult to go out there and say, you know what, I'm going to do the Dark Saga, maybe because of potential backlash, because it was so, and I want to be respectful when I ask you this question. Don't get me wrong.
Hey man, I mean, you know, we don't live in a, you know, we don't live in a tube of silence here. We get stuff, but no, I mean, I think it's just for me, I think for people that are fans of the music, they don't care about that. I think at the end of the day, it's you know, it's the music, and you know, and I hope that everybody's respectful, because I'm going to celebrate, you know, John and what he's done. You know, he's written some fucking amazing music, right? And I've been fortunate to be a part of that. So outside of that, you know, I'm not going to get political with anything. We're not going to be, you know, we're not talking politics. We're just talking strictly music, and it's for the love of the music, and I hope that everybody understands that. That's what the point is. Hopefully we're bringing something cool and special. And I certainly look forward, if John, you know, wants to tour again and play this music again, I wholeheartedly look forward to that. You know, if that's a possibility. So, but we're out there. We're just going to go out there and just celebrate this music that is very special, I think, for a lot of people. We've been, you know, given blessing to do so by John. So that's super important to us as well. So you
actually asked him, said, John, are you okay with this? And he said, no problem. Do it.
Yep.
That's
I mean,
good.
obviously, you know, we have things that we need to do as far as, you know, we're not using logos or anything like that. You know, we're asking, and we're going to make sure that the promoters aren't using any logos or anything like that of his. And of course, John, as the writer of this stuff, he will get paid for music that's performed live. So it's, and you know, for my little chunk that I will get paid as well for my writing part. Gotta get
paid.
Yeah,
right.
It is what it is. So
you know, you left the band, you come back to the band. Did you ever think to yourself, you know what, it would be different? Like I think personally, when you came back to the band was sort of like, Iced Earth was sort of like lower in the sort of radar of most metalheads. But I think times have changed. It's been like 10, 15 years now.
Yeah.
Do you think people would lose it if you actually went back to Iced Earth, or is that just not even on the table?
Well, I don't, you know, it's not on
lose
the
it. I'd say I'd lose it if you. I've never seen you perform with Iced Earth. That I'd lose it.
Table at this point, man. That
in a good way.
Something that would be entirely up to, obviously, when John, you know, that's John's band, so 100%. So that would be, you know, that's something that John would have to decide whether I would be a part of it or not. Either way, but whether Iced Earth goes out and does it. But I look forward to that, whether it would be me involved with it or somebody else. If that were to happen, and I can't speak to it, because I don't think at this point that, you know, it's not even in the long distance at this point. So I can't.
Matt, me and Alan are fans, so we're just talking as fans here. Like,
and
I could tell you if there was a show announced in Montreal, Canada, like me and Alan be the first. We're running there. We're like, even if Ashes of Aries, I'm even saying Ashes of Aries, and I already asked you about this, right? I text you, we'll go, you got to come to Canada. You got to come to Canada.
Yeah, we'll do what we can, but you know, I'm still you know, I'm still in law enforcement, and my schedule I can do. So I got some more responsibilities now, and you know, it's good. I feel awesome about that, but it's also taxing, and I don't want to tax my agency too much on that. So I'm doing it with you know, when I can, with vacation and things like that.
Yes.
We're doing the best we can. We're trying to spread it out a little bit and do some stuff, but you know, we actually, yeah. So we'll see what we can do, man. We'll see what we can do.
All right.
So Ashes of Aries now. What is there with this tour coming? Is there new music coming as well? What's the plans there?
Yeah, we got a new record coming out. New Messiahs is the name of it. It's coming out in July.
Can you repeat that again, please? Sorry.
New Messiahs.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so there's some, there's some stuff in there. There's some pretty, I think there's some really, really good music in this record. We've been sitting on it for a while. We changed, well, we didn't change labels. A label kind of came in and took over Rock of Angels. So now we're on Phoenix Rising, and so it's which is a German label, so it's kind of like a Greek and German kind of combination. And with that, we have a lot of other bands that are on our label. So as far as the release times, they we kind of got pushed back a little bit, but the record's been in the can for about a year. So
wow.
So we've been sitting on it for a while, and it's really tough, man. It's really tough to sit on music that you're really excited about people hearing, right? So yeah, so that's where.
Are you saying 2025 release or 2026?
2025. It'll be out. It'll be out this summer. And we're getting ready. We're getting ready to release some promotional videos and stuff like that too. So that's coming.
It's amazing. I'm excited, man. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, man.
So the dates. What are we talking? We're talking about. I'm sure you're going to do Greece. You guys are like like the Beatles in Greece.
Yeah, we are, and we got some places to play, and so we're going to also be doing a festival in Germany as well on the October the 4th, I believe. So so that's Keep It True Rising, and so we're going to be doing that, which is going to be very, very cool. Hopefully it's going to be a good crowd, and I think that'll be pretty interesting. But yeah, I don't know, not all the gigs are booked yet, but we're sort of doing it around that October 4th date. So we're doing stuff on either side of that because, like I said, I can do like 2 weeks at a time. So we're trying to squeeze things in and, get the best bang for our buck, so to speak, hit as many shows as we can in that short amount of time. And, so yeah, I don't know all of them. As soon as we have more dates, then we'll certainly put them out there.
Let's get to the comments and statements. First statement is from Sammy. She loves you, and she's from Germany. She loves you so much.
All right.
Awesome. Pascalis says, I've been in the Dark Saga. I was at the Dark Saga tour in 1997, Thessaloniki, Greece, in the front row. And this was maybe the best live show I've ever been to. Just waiting for the live dream again this year, almost 30 years later.
Yeah. Almost 30 years. It's nuts, man. And that was crazy. Thessaloniki, that was our first show in Greece. And it was absolutely insane. And we had, some folks, and actually, oddly enough, one of the folks that met us at the airport when we came in, we had people, and we kind of felt like the Beatles a little bit, but one of the folks that met us at the airport is actually now our manager.
Oh, there you go.
Greek.
So it's not kind of crazy how that works out, right? He's a big fan, and so it's really worked out for us, and he's done a heck of a job for us as well. So, yeah.
Did you learn any Greek words when you were there?
Uzo.
There you go.
That's a good one.
Efkaristo.
I think I also learned to not drink too much Uzo anymore after that. That was
all right. Real Billy says, hopefully there's a show in England. Are we?
That would be great, but we don't know yet. We don't have everything booked. As soon as we have all the dates solid, we'll let folks know. And I'm sure that there are probably going to be some people that are disappointed because I get it, but we can only do so much with my schedule, and I apologize, but that's the way we got to do it. So maybe if we get it out there soon enough, maybe people can take a trip, especially if it's if we are playing Greece. Weather's nice at that time of the year, so come on, fly on over to Greece maybe.
We got Ves Paraxet says Serbia is close to Greece, so I guess he wants you to play in Greece.
Yeah.
I got votes for Bulgaria too.
Yeah, close. Yes, Bulgaria is very close. We actually played the last time we were over there. We played in Sofia, which was an amazing show. Very, very. Yeah. Yep.
Here we go. Sparrow says, Matt, what's your favorite drink on the counter behind you?
Behind me, well, I don't know. Well, this is a nice one. This is so one of our local meaderies, the Brimminghorn Meadery actually made us our own special mead. That was back.
Are we allowed to get this in Canada, or are they going to tariff us?
They made. I don't know what I don't know what you guys are tariffing, but Brimminghorn actually does do shipping. I don't know if they ship to Canada or not, but this is a pretty cool one. This is called Spirit of Man. So, it says it's a mead with dates and figs added, because we thought, dates kind of has that Greek, that Greek thing, ashes of Aries, sort of being our thing, but very, very good. They actually do a lot of nice stuff. Mead is very good. Have you guys had mead?
No.
Mead, no.
No. Okay, so mead is sort of like honey wine.
Oh.
So it's a little wine, but without the tannins, without that kind of that bitterness or that you can get from grapes. It's delicious, and it's a creeper too, man. You sit down there and you're drinking a little bit of it, and then you stand up to walk, and it doesn't work out. Your legs stop working.
The cobble wobble.
Yeah.
Yuri says, I watched the ICED Earth concert in Sao Paulo with Matt. It was one of the most incredible shows I've ever seen in my life.
Yep.
Was there a DVD? Is that what it was?
I think somebody did some bootleg. There's stuff out there for sure on YouTube, the Sao Paulo shows. I think that I have a version of it. Somebody gave me like on DVD or something. It was pretty amazing. That was crazy. I mean, it's like between the Athens and Brazil, or between Sao Paulo and Athens, the Brazilian fans are extremely extremely into it. I think if those guys got together, it would just stuff would just start erupting.
Fires.
Greeks and the Brazilians together, man. Whew.
Well of Souls. Jim Harrison in Canada says, Well of Souls, fantastic album. The Ashes of Aries back in the day, right? Not
Thank
too long
you.
ago. Yep. Yuri says, Matt Barlow returning to Iced Earth is like making America great again.
Well, yeah. Okay. All right. No.
You'll take it. Right? What else? So you don't know the rest of the dates yet. Is there a lot of dates, or is it just like a short run of 2 weeks and that's
it? It's going to be 2 weeks, but we're going to try to get as much in as we can, within all human possibility. So I'm probably actually going to be, because Freddie and I live in separate spots. I think Freddie's going to be flying over there with the band, doing some rehearsal with the band over there, and then I'll fly in and probably just start doing shows. So I'll just have to do a lot more rehearsing by myself at my home studio, and make it happen.
We should plug Freddie as well. You should give him a plug. He's part of your band, Ashes of Aries. He's your partner, I guess. Maybe you want to just speak about him for a bit.
Vidales, he's been my songwriting partner for over a decade now with Ashes. So we've got a lot of time in, a lot of file sharing back and forth, because we don't do the traditional band thing. We had to do crazy shit and just decide to, hey, let's put this band together, but we're not going to live anywhere in proximity to one another. We're going to do it and then see what happens. So obviously, it started out with Van, and Van was sort of like at that time he was living in New York. He still lives in New York, but he was sort of like the midway. So Freddie was living in New Hampshire at the time, so he would drive over to New York, and I would drive up to New York. And we would do things together, but we still did a lot of writing. Our writing has always been done by file sharing, which is, the beauty part of the internet, and the beautiful part of, hang on, sorry about that. And the beautiful part of, technology as it stands, it's awesome for being able to write music and share music and things like that. Obviously the dark side of that is, musicians don't get paid as much anymore because everybody's sharing, actual, music that's copywritten and all that other good stuff, and shouldn't be sharing it. But but as far as the writing aspect of it, it's great because, you know, I can get off work and I can go in and get these files that Freddie's been working on for, you know, a week or whatever, and I can dump them down into my Pro Tools rig and just start cranking away, and it's cool. It's really cool. So we're all sort of a little bit. I can't put myself in a category of an engineer, but I'm sort of engineering and producing my own vocals, you know, where I am, and then I ship them off to somebody who really knows how to make them sound good and mix them properly and all that other good stuff, obviously. So but it's very interesting. It's interesting the way that the world is so different now than when I first started. You know, the first record I was on being Burnt Offerings, dude, we recorded that on 2-inch tape. You know, that's the crazy shit. You know, it's like people go, what's tape? What's 2-inch tape? You know, yeah, no, it's like tape. It's like that thick, and it costs a lot.
How many weeks in the studio when the first 2 albums that you were on? Sorry.
Burnt Offering. I mean, it's crazy. It seems like it was a lot, but I don't know. I think maybe I was in there for. Well, dude, Dark Saga.
It sounds good. The quality of the production's good. So there must have been some time spent there. Oh
yeah, the production side, and of course you got the Morris Brother gurus. You know, they're just amazing. Tom with Burnt Offerings, because Tom started out as John's guy, and then it sort of transitioned. Tom was taking on other projects, and Jim then stepped in, and we've had a great relationship with those guys, and Jim is still obviously a really good friend of ours. I can't remember. I think it seems to me, obviously, I think for me, the Burnt Offerings took a little bit more time in the studio because it's my first record. So, and I'm not going to say that Tom is hard to work with, but Tom, you just don't know, man. He's got such a poker face. You just don't know. Tom, did I do that okay? You know, it's like that. You know, Jim is much more involved. Like Jim will like go into the booth with you essentially, you know, and you know, it's, hey man, let's do this. And, you know, he's more of a hands-on guy. Tom is really, he'll just, you know, press the button. Yeah, that sucked. Do it again. You know, just difference in personalities. But I think for like Dark Saga, it seemed like really quick, like the whole thing seemed like really, like we just nailed it, you know, like everything we were doing, we were just nailing, and we were rehearsing obviously before that. So we had some idea. We didn't have the budget to go in and like a Metallica and, you know, write and redo stuff and redo all this stuff before going into the or in the studio rather. We did it all before we went into the studio. So we got all of our shit together and we were prepared. And so with that one, that was worked out. And I think also Something Wicked was like, you know, other than I do remember like part way through Something Wicked, I actually kind of got sick because we had driven down we were in Indiana at that time, and we had driven down to record it at Morristown. And I think just that whole changing in climate, you know, going from Indiana down to Florida just kind of jacked me up a little bit. So I got through a few songs and then I got sick, and then they just worked on other stuff in the meantime, you know, production wise. And then I went back and then I think I like killed it. Like I just not.
Matt, you know what's funny? You know what's funny? In the comments they wrote, he still hasn't said how many days.
Because I don't know. No, like a week maybe. You know, like
wow.
I think
okay.
Yeah, it was. We weren't like I said, we weren't Metallica. You know, we weren't going in there for months and weeks and all that shit. Man, we were hammering it. And if you know John, the way he works, man, he's a machine. You know, he'd go in there and just bang out like, you know, 6 tracks of the same thing. You know, doing that just like every track you could hardly even tell the difference, but then you blend them together and it just sounds even that much more huge. You know. So he's just
I'll steal a line from Todd LaTorre. Your vocals, and not for this album, well, actually for this album, your vocals on this album are very percussive in a way. There's a lot of hits. Like, does that make sense? Is what I'm trying to say? Because
I which is weird. I wish that I was the drummer that Todd is, because kind of like, that's what I latch onto. Like I latch onto rhythms. And of course, Iced Earth music in general is very rhythmic because that's John's gig, right? So everything is driven by rhythm. So I kind of latch onto drums and latch onto that rhythm, and that's kind of what Iced Earth is. If you really listen to it, it's very, very rhythmic stuff, and that's kind of what so if that's what he means, I don't know what he means, but exactly. But
when me and Alan have shows with him, he usually talks about percussive singing. Meaning like the singing sort of it's to what your point is. It works sort of with the drums. Yeah, and that's a kind of style that's on this.
Yeah,
it's like it's hitting. It hits like drums.
Right. And because I like that. I like some smooth stuff too, but that's more for just the icing on the cake. To me that's who I am. I am more of a percussive, I guess, or aggressive kind of guy. That's my sweet spot. So,
Matt, what is your favorite Iced Earth song to play live? That's from Gaston Iron Maiden. That's his name.
Favorite one to play live. The one that I think that I've always had the best reaction from. I mean, if you're talking about are you talking about like a let me just get like a normal song, not like Dante's Inferno. I mean, obviously that was huge. That was always big whenever we were able to pull that off. But probably Question of Heaven is just it, because it just covers like everything. It covers the emotional side, and I can emote in my voice, and then I can get heavy and that aggressive stuff, and then that's probably one of the coolest ones, just because I think it's well loved by everybody. And if you got a crowd that knows the song, they can sing it practically for you. You know what I mean? It's just, then it just adds so much to it and adds so much to the emotion. So yeah, Question of Heaven, I would say it's probably have to be up there.
And Gaston saying, thank you. Love Question of Heaven. He loves the song. So, I mean, let's wrap it up here. Matt, what else do you want to tell us? You want to tell us to promote? What else? You got a new album coming out. Ashes of Aries new album. We're expecting this in the summer of 2025.
Yeah, and kind of be looking out for promotional stuff. We're kind of getting all of our shit in one sock as far as putting things out, videos and stuff like that. So keep an ear out for that, and an eye out for it on YouTube or whatever social media platforms that you're following. Like I said, we're working with a new company now, and hopefully they're kind of gearing up, and they're going to get things pushing out so that we can promote this prior to us going out and doing the tour. There will be some of the new songs on that. We're going to try to get a little bits.
Oh, on the tour, you're going to try to throw in a couple of new tracks. Yeah. That's amazing.
We're going to do some new tracks, and then also do Dark Saga, because obviously that's only about an hour total as far as the whole record. So we'll have some Ashes of Aries tracks in there as well. So,
all right. Anything else?
Well, man, it's great talking to you guys.
Yeah, it always is. Yeah, we love having you.
It's been a minute.
Time flies. It seriously does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's pretty much it. We appreciate your time, Matt. Thank you so much. September, October, the European mini tour, I guess, right? Just look out for those dates on social media, on your website. New album coming out, very exciting. The Dark Saga. Are you going to plan on? I guess you're going to base it on the reaction with Dark Saga, and if you go into the other albums, maybe you'll do the same thing. Burnt Offerings and.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, man. I think that it's just cool. Us being able to celebrate again the anniversary coming up of the record, and hopefully it gets people excited about it again, and maybe helps out some sales and can kind of get that going, and kind of get people reinvigorated into the discography of Iced Earth. So it'll be cool.
It's amazing, and I'll leave everybody off with this. It's amazing that a band that sort of built slowly from the 90s, that it's so well known today. And you never really had like a number one single, like Come On, Feel the Noise, or it's just this this bass, this powerful bass globally, isn't it? It just blows my mind how this band. Me and Alan been following the band for forever, right? And nobody knows it if you ask the regular guy on the street, but the hardcore fans all know the band and all the songs too, and all the songs, not only the band.
Yeah, and I think it goes to a couple things. So I think obviously first and foremost is the writing, right? I think the songs really captured people's emotions and their imaginations and things like that. And then when you've got somebody that was driving the train, that was so dedicated to the music and the fans and the band and how the band was portrayed to the fans. And all the stuff, like everything, man. That jacket for the that you're holding up there for Dark Saga. That's obviously he didn't make the artwork, but he was the one that was able to get that. Get Todd McFarlane to sign off on that for doing that. He always put everything into the production, so he always had his hands on every aspect of that, and he always thought more for the fans. This is for the fans because this is the kind of album that I would want to see. If I put my hands on a physical album, this is what I want to see. I want to see cool artwork. I want, cool pictures and things like that. The lyrics, the way the lyrics are written, all that stuff. That was all John, I mean, he had his hands on every bit of the production, from the writing of the music to the recording of the music to how the final product went out and was displayed. So, that's what John did. Right. So, so for that, I think that, we all are, have a bit of, we need to thank John for that, because I think that's what he created. And it's really been I think a really important part of music history, certainly for my history. And I think for people that are fans of the music, and I know just like anything else, there are people that really, really like my voice or really, really hate my voice, and there are people that really, really love Iced Earth or they really, really don't like Iced Earth. But at the end of the day, I think the fans that John was able to capture, they've stayed true, and they've stayed along the way. So I just hope that everybody still enjoys the music and understands that the music is the important thing.
Alan, did Iced Earth with Matt ever play Montreal back in the day? Do you remember Matt? If you played Montreal, Canada?
Yeah, I'm pretty darn sure we played Montreal. I think we played Montreal. We played Quebec. I bet I could probably do a Google search or something on that and find out all the places. But I remember, I can't remember if it was Montreal, this place that we played. That was it was a kind of a funky little club, but it had like multiple layers, like multiple levels, and a kind of a smaller stage.
Buffoon.
But it seemed like there was three different levels, and people were kind of all around us. It felt kind of like Thunderdome,
It could have been the Buffoon Electric, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna look it up right after. I'm gonna look it up.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. But very cool. And it's funny, man, was we were just talking. I was talking to my son about like Canada, and I was like, it's one of the coldest places on earth that I've ever been. Freaking life when we were touring up there, man, because it was winter, straight up, dead of winter, and my God, just getting on the bus, just trying to go into a convenience store or whatever. It's like, it's so cold. And I've been to Finland and all that. Now Canada, man, that wind coming, that Arctic wind coming across there, man, whoo, brutal.
Montreal's not that bad.
Yeah, probably.
But other parts higher up are. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. All right, man.
Yeah, thank you.
I do remember, I think the first place that I played in Canada ever was London. I'm pretty sure that was.
Yeah, it's more southern. London's a little more south, closer. Yeah. It's not too bad.
They have milder winters than we do.
Yeah.
All right, man. That's it.
All right.
Freddie, thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Oh, and I got to say this to all my Canadian friends. Okay. I'm sure that it's probably common knowledge for you, but I am a huge Shoresy fan. So, I watched that show. We get it here on Hulu now. I'm just a huge fan. So I don't know if anybody else likes it, but I just find it fascinating, the lingo. And it's like, to me, watching it is kind of like watching like a Shakespearean play. Like it takes me a minute to pick up on the lingo because it's so quick, it's so fast in it. But my wife and I absolutely love it. So it's yeah. So
Matt, do you say roof or roof?
it depends. It depends on the week.
I was just in Minnesota and they go roof and I go, what? They go roof. Like, you mean roof? They go, no, roof. I go, why roof? Why, it's a roof, isn't it?
Yeah, I would think roof is probably, I would think I would say the roof, but it's so weird, man. Dialects, I mean, there's just tons of different dialects, even in my area, like between like Baltimore and Philadelphia, there's like different, even though they're, connected by a little short span of I-95, they just have a different dialect. It's crazy. And then you go up over to Jersey and it's a different dialect. And then New York is a different dialect. It's just, so yeah, it's nuts.
But we seem to have this similar accent. I don't think it's that much different.
Yeah, it's not too much. I mean, I can definitely hear an accent. You have an accent on certain words, but yeah. I mean, you're not like, what's it all about or anything like that.
A boot.
The roundabout.
That's Shoresy talk. That's Shoresy talk.
Right, we don't say car either. We don't not Bostoners, Bostonians.
No,
car.
Pack the car. Yeah.
Pack the car. Yeah. The gardens.
Yeah.
All right, man. We'll talk soon.
All right. See you guys.
Hey, all the best. Good luck on the tour.
All right.
The album.